Okay folks, welcome back. This is your old pal Hondo doing another video for you on a somewhat real service and a little bit of history on the Johnson 15 country mile reel. Show you how to disassemble it and put it back together, and some methods that maybe help you clean your granddaddy's old Johnson reel. This was a really fine reel. This is the Johnson right here. It has a odd, huge spincast hole on the steel cover. On the inside it has one pickup pin. It has 0 ball bearings, but this is faster than any of the other Johnson reels they made of the era. This is from the 80s. It has a graphite body, star drag, and it has a steel frame. And most Johnsons had a small hole and a regular standard pickup pin spinner system. This one had a huge hole, which gave it a really good casting capability. And it had one pickup pin, which is flat. This was the direct competitor to the Zebco 33. The Century was the competitor to the Zebco 202. This would be comparable to a 33 from the 80s. They did, not to mention that they did other honorable mentions of spincast reels of the time were Shakespeare Wonder reels, the dial with silver cat spin cast reels, the South Bend spin cast reels of the time, and Pfluger made a spin cast reel of the time, but this was the direct competitor to the Zebco. The Zebcos were the king of the spin cast reels of the time, and Johnson was a close second to it, but I think these reels were a lot better made than some of the Zebcos of the time, and they were wonderful and pleasant little reels to use as well. One of the main reasons why I say that is the spinner cones on these didn't wear out as bad as the some of the Zebcos, and it was a little bit harder to maintenance this over a 33. This one was a little bit harder to do that. It's about on par with like maintenance in a 202, but with more moving parts than a 33 or a 202. The way you want to take the spinner cone off of this is you want to take a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, and just winch the little flathead right off of the top there, which is the screw that holds the spinner cone in place. You take that out like that, and then you can just spray that out WD-40 and wipe it down with a rag. Here's a little pin right here you have to pull out, and little copper pin like so. You pull that out. Make sure, if you don't know where all these parts go, to take a picture. Usually when you put this back on, you want the little thin side right here with the small grooves to go on top, with the bigger grooves on top to go there. And basically that's how you disassemble the top of the spinner and the spool and everything off of the front of the reel, which is a lot easier than the Zebco 33. Now you want to take this out of the frame like so, and just gently, it pulls out like a 202. If the frame and this are dirty, you could take this and put it in dishwashing liquid and some hot water and take a toothbrush to clean that off and let it sit out to dry. Right here's the gear system. Here's the pinion gear right here, and there is the wheel gear in itself. Now you want to take this off. You're going to have to remove the star drag, which is easy. You take a adjustable wrench or a wrench that fits this nut. You take the wrench like so and unwrench the nut like this, and you take this off first, the nut, and then once you can get it to a point, you can take it off by hand, remove it, set it off to the side, and you want to pull the handle off. Sometimes this handle could be very stuck on there, it can stick on there pretty good. I'll just put it that way. Sometimes you can take a wrench and just knock it out of place like that. Now the star drag, you have to like twist it off like this, screw it off, and the star drag comes off when you twist it like that. And there's 2 washers underneath the star drag, one bent washer and one straight washer. You have to put the bent washer on top of the straight washer when you put this back together. And now once you get that out, you can remove the center pinion gear like so, and it's all in one piece there. And you can remove the wheel gear, And right here is the anti-reverse switch right here on the wheel gear. There's a little, once you pull that sleeve out, there's a small washer that goes over the top of the wheel gear here that you could remove like so. Once you remove that, there's a little copper switch here that goes right here in this hole, so don't forget that hole right there. That's where that has to go back in. So it's the interrupter gear for the anti-reverse switch. You pull that out like so, you remove it, and then you could remove the small washer that goes on top of this wheel gear, which goes over this little shroud here. And once you do that, you could push this through like so. And right here is the little clicking switch that goes to the anti-reverse. Now once you get this apart, once you take it all apart, you could take this and put it in a small tub like so. Just the gears, you put that in a small tub. Spray these down with WD-40, just the gears, and then you can take a toothbrush and just brush them until they come clean, and then recoat them with new grease and some oil, and then you're ready to put it back together again. You can clean this part right here with this part and some dishwashing liquid and a toothbrush to clean that. You can clean the spool that way as well. Now we're going to reassemble the reel and show you how to do it. First thing you want to do is put this wheel gear back together. You put the small, you hold the bottom here in place. You got to push this back into place like so. And then you got to put this little washer right here. Anti-reverse gear, I screwed that up. Sorry about that. Right side up like this. So when you put it back into the reel, you put it right into this little switch right there. As you can see, it goes right in that hole on that anti-reverse switch. And how you can test that out, once you get it in there right, it goes forwards and then it breaks. So that's ready to go. So now we're going to replace and make sure you hold this gear in place. We're going to return the pinion gear through the center of the bottom of the reel until it goes into place. Sometimes this can be tricky to do when you're trying to replace this after you re-grease it and everything out. Okay, it goes in. It goes in like that. Once you get it in there, you don't have to hold the wheel in place anymore. It does all the work for it right there, and that should be good, sorta, I guess. Yeah, it was breaking. Well, see what happened here was the little interrupter gear. Okay, now if you want to test that, you can take the handle and put it back on the reel itself to test how it works. And we got something working here, but we got to tighten this all back up together to get it to work later. And what we're going to do now from here is we're going to put the round washer first on top of the handle. Of course, this is the center of this. You have to hold on to that, I guess, still. And you want to replace this flat washer first on top of this, and make sure this stupid little sleeve goes in there. Sometimes this will poke out. You want to take a punch or something to push it back into place in here. You know, there it goes. Okay, now you want to replace this washer first, little round washer. Then you have to place this washer on the bent side up. And then you want to replace the unscored side of this star drag right on top of this okay, you gotta push it down hard to get it to freaking screw in. Of course, this don't want to screw in for me. There it goes. Sorta. Thought I had it. Okay, there it goes. Finally. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get it to go in, but once you get it to go in, it should work for you. You have to tighten it up all the way, and then you place the handle back on it and place the nut on top of it so it will tighten this all up together. If you get it to the point where you can't get it hand tight, you just take the wrench and tighten it. And we're going to get it as tight as we can. Okay, now once you got that tight, make sure you test it out. It's working fine. Okay, now we got the frame put back together. Now you might want to put a little bit of oil, like regular oil, and a little bit of bearing grease on it before you put it all back together, just on the wheel gear and the bottom part of the pinion gear. And then you pour a little bit of oil on there so it'll keep it from getting seized up. And you want to put a little bit of oil back here too as well. Once you service this, and once you clean it in some WD-40 first, and then you re-grease it and then put it all back together, that should be a good way to do it. Now we're ready to put the back frame on the reel, and it goes in like this on the back side of the reel like that, and that's pretty much done. Once you get this part done from the reel, you can wipe the grease off your hands. And once you got this clean and the spool clean, it's time to reassemble the spinner and the spool. Basically, you want to lay this side flat first on top like so, because this is not like a straight line drag. When you pull, this spool does not move. It has to snap into place. And once you do that, you take your retaining pin, stick it back in. It'll just go in by finger tight. You can push it back in like that, really easy. Once you put this in, there's a trick to this. You have to push this forwards, hold this little knob down on the back end with your fingernail like that, and then lay this on top of the pinion gear until it goes on, because if you don't do that, this pickup pin won't reset proper. Then once you do that, you stick on the screw high and tight, and then you take this screwdriver and then tighten it up as tight as it'll go. And pretty much from at this point, you could test out the pickup pin to see if it works properly, and the drag is working properly. It's working properly, so we got a good service reel here. Okay, see it pops in and out like that, and you can take the line out, and if you want to test the drag as well, you can take the line, put it through the hole. It's a massive hole, and you put this on, the cover back on it, and once you get to that point, you can test to see if it functions properly, and you hear that click when you pull the drag. That's functioning properly. And we're going to reverse the star drag to the tightest setting to see if it locks the spool in place, and it does. So we got a good reel here, and make sure it reels the line in. Well, there you go. That's how you take apart a Johnson Country Mile 15 reel. So if you got one of these reels laying around that's your granddaddy's or it was your daddy's, and you want to clean it up, that should be the best way to doing it. That's the way I do it. If you like this Johnson Country Mile reel, it also was sporting the Teflon coating. It was an anti-static rotor. It had a high-speed retrieval. It had free flow line, path, and Teflon coating. So it was a pretty good reel for its time. It was a lot faster than the Century. I do own the Century 215. This is a far better reel than the Century 215. They also made the Country Mile and a Country Mile 10, which was a smaller reel for micro fishing, for like panfish and crappie and stuff like that. But these were the best, I think, of the reels from the 80s. They did make these up until the 2000s, and then they changed. Then they got bought out by some other company, and they were no longer being made anymore. And I don't think they make Johnsons anymore. So parts will be kind of dried up, so you're gonna have a problem finding parts for these. So if you just want to keep it as a collector edition, you can. They also made these in the 60s, in the 1970s, through the 80s, through the 90s, and 2000s. And they mass produced these reels like crazy, and they were great reels, and they still work fine for what they are. I don't know the gear ratio of it, but I know it's from the 80s, this Country Mile reel. Okay, folks, if you like this video, please hit the like, share, and subscribe on this video if you found this video informative, and maybe help you clean your granddad or your daddy's old Johnson Country Mile 15. Alright, folks, y'all take it easy, and this has been your old pal Hondo from Hillbilly Tactical. You know what you can do. You put God first, he puts you first every time. You know what else, YouTube? God loves you, so does Hondo. Peace out, YouTube.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me.